Hit it. I'm so excited. It's like a true crime takeover show. It's the best show of my life. This is like, I love this so much.
And you do all the talking.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the detective that's here is like, I'm over it, but whatever. I don't even care. I love it. It's like my favorite. Yes.
Wait, you're talking about like bong rips from assholes. Is that appropriate?
Jim doesn't mind. He's retired. He doesn't have you don't have the same standards. Not a cat spot.
Hey, Fraser every day. She's got the scoop on pop culture news.
So grab a friend. It ain't what you say. It's Sarah and the crew.
There you go.
It's what you say, right? It's not what you say. It's what you do.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Oh, my God. It's only taken me, what are we on, 4 years? 4 years of this darn podcast. You guys, welcome to the Hey FRASE podcast. We have new shows every single Monday and Wednesday. We stream live to YouTube. And then, of course, you can pick up the podcast on Spotify, on iTunes, Google Play, everywhere that podcasts are released. I'm your host, as I mentioned, Sarah Fraser, along with my dear friend, my co-host. I'm in love with her. AJ on the mic. She's amazing. She is, you seem like you're getting the energy again.
Hey, Sarah Bear. I know, right before the show, I go super low energy. And then as soon as I hear the music, I just like get a jolt.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
You were like, you okay over there?
Well, I always, Mondays are really tough. Like, you really don't clock in until about 2 o'clock, which is ironic. Like, it's hard for me to be a boss to you because, like, I always set out on Monday morning. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a list for her. Like, she's going to be on time. We are doing this. And then, like, she rolls in like an hour later and she's like, I'm really sorry. I've had several radio interviews. I didn't get home last night until 1 a.m. because I drove back and Iggy's dog was like all over the car crap 3 times. We had to pull over in New Jersey. It's like always this. And I'm like, all right, it's fine.
All happened. Yes. I know.
It always does.
Did we get kind of a lot done this morning or no? We were kind of...
No, we did. Look, it's a very huge week for us. A couple things. I'm really excited about today's show. We kind of teased it, but today on the show is a guy that I just really admire named Jim Trainum. He's a former D.C. homicide detective here in Washington, D.C. for many, many years. You've also probably seen him on a lot of popular shows. He's done a lot of true crime shows. And then he's also the author of the book, How the Police Generate False Confessions. I really wanted to have Jim on today because I've sort of talked about my obsession with When They See Us, the Ava DuVernay documentary on Netflix. Oprah just sat down. They were the Central Park Five. They kind of want to be known now. They do want to be known now as the Exonerated Five. But I'd heard of this case, and I never really paid attention to it until Ava DuVernay's 4-part series on Netflix, which is incredibly hard to watch. I stopped 4 times. I think everybody knows this story now, but it's essentially of 5 young men. They were like boys, 14, 15 years old, who were wrongly convicted of raping a woman in Central Park and beating her nearly to death. Spent several years in prison, were exonerated thanks to a confession and DNA, and then they get a record $41 million settlement from New York City. But still, this case has just brought up everything, interrogations, false confessions. Linda Fairstein, of course, has been resigned. She was an author. She really made her career off of this case. So Jim gives great perspective to talk about how police do get these false confessions. And one of the things I admire so much about Jim is I did another interview with him for the Mansion Murder podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Which I did with Fox, about the Savopolis murders. But anyway, as I've got to know Jim, one of the things he always says, which really resonates, is the minute you believe that police think that you are a suspect or want to question you, you need an attorney. And people, they just forget that every single day and give out so much information.
I would do the same thing. I am not prepared at all if I get
Me neither.
If I'm a
Me
witness.
Neither.
I'm going to jail.
I'm completely naive and I am completely like, oh, we're just pals. I mean,
Yeah.
You want me to come downtown? Of course.
Sure.
Yeah. Should I bring the donuts or do you already have them? Like, what do we need? Come on. So anyway, he's going to be on here in a little bit. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, we're live on YouTube. You can leave them for Jim. I think you're really going to love that interview. We wanted to talk a little bit about our weekends before, do a couple stories. Also, our live show is on Thursday. There's only 6 VIP tickets left. Amp by Strathmore. The VIP ticket gets you a swag bag with over $100. Prime seating. We have some awesome male dancers that are coming because it's bachelorette party themed.
I'm so excited for this theme because before we kind of just did like a live show and never had like actual theme.
Oh, you're kidding. It never had any structure? Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to believe, right? If any of you ever went to one of the past shows.
Paul would hijack the entire show. He would take the mic, hijack it, and then he'd be like, now let me tell you, sweetie, my mama's Brenda and my sister's Holly. And then he would go into like this whole thing.
It was a whole entire The Paul Worden Show, which was still entertaining, to say the least. But this is the actual bachelorette party for you. It's gonna be hilarious. We have different segments, and I just can't wait. You guys, we have penis straws. It just came in the mail.
Schmiggy and Schman are going to be there live on stage. We're going to play the Newlywed Game with comedian Rob Mayer.
Now, Schman has actually been in Paris traveling with his soccer team. I want to know if he's going to wear his Parisian scarf to the live show.
Oh my God, do you have that photo? So Dan has been sending me photos every day. He's been in Paris for the Women's World Cup, and he took his soccer team there.
Yes.
And they went and saw Chile yesterday. Yeah, the U.S. women's soccer team beat Chile yesterday. He said it was amazing. He said in Paris, I think it's a 50,000 person stadium. He thought about 30-something thousand people. He said most of the stadium was all Americans.
Really?
Yeah. I'm
How
like,
is
really?
That? How can that be?
He said like tons of Americans are there. Like every American like shows out for this.
I mean, I do get that, but you think it's so big in Europe, wouldn't there be tons of Europeans?
I would have thought
like way
so
more
too.
than.
He said like hardly any Chilean fans. Poor Chile.
Chile.
My God, all these teams come out, they get their asses kicked, and then no one cheers for them. It's bringing me back to high school when we went 0-18 for basketball. Not one person came, no one clapped. My mom was like, I'll come when you guys win.
TBT, I'll come for one game,
like,
Sarah.
That's horrible parenting.
Hold on, I'm getting this picture of Schmano.
So Dan has been all over Paris. He texted me yesterday and he's like, all right, babe, I did an 8-mile run to the Inception Bridge. Did you guys ever see the movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what? I didn't even know the Inception Bridge was in Paris. This is my husband for you. Like, he's so nerd-tastic that instead of most people would run to the Eiffel Tower. Most people would run to that bridge with all the lockets of love. Where does he run the Inception Bridge and then he buys himself a Parisian scarf? What? I mean, who is this?
Hold on, you guys. Are you ready to see Schmano in all his glory? Parisian scarf.
Maddie, our intern, is dying. She's dying. There he is.
Wait. So he, in good faith, honestly, was this a joke? Or this is for real?
No, this is for real. You guys,
what did he
been
say?
Rocking. He will text me in French.
No,
he knows
no.
Yes.
Okay, this is okay. This can turn him on. You wear the scarf. You talk to him with a French accent, or even French. Get some hot words, some key words in French.
No French.
Oui. Before he went,
I know oui. That's it.
You guys, before Schmano went to France, he was like trying to speak French. So I would walk in, he goes, "Bonjour, AJ." I was like, "What? You haven't even left to Paris yet. Chill out." I can't wait. So he sent you this text, and he goes, "Do you like the scarf?"
You can scroll through my texts every day. He texts me a new photo of him. There's another one of him slouched over, taking a nap, and all of his soccer team making fun of him. He's still got the scarf on. He wears the scarf every day. I'm like, babe, maybe you need to style it with something. Every day he wears it over like American sweaters, all this
Doesn't
stuff.
matter. Doesn't match. Just has a Parisian scarf.
Is it that cold there, or do they French just wear sweaters regardless of the season?
They just like their neck to be covered. Thick necks. They got to cover it up. This is so great.
You guys, I guarantee he'll wear this
him?
to the live show.
Oh, I'm saying he has to.
I miss him terribly. Yes, I miss him terribly. I'm like, I feel now like I'm single again or widowed. Like sometimes I just roll over to his side of the bed. I'm like,
he's been gone 1 week. Sarah's like, I'm a widow. You're not even married yet.
Last night I was just like having a pity party for myself because there was so much like stressful things going on in preparation for this live show. So I rolled over to the side. I was like, well, I guess this is what it would be like if I was widowed. Like I just sometimes I just sulk. It's like I'm really way too self-absorbed.
You should call me up.
No, because here's the thing. I wanted to call or text you like 18 times over the weekend, but I'm trying to leave your ass alone. No, King used to drive us bananas. That motherfucker would text us non-stop. I was like, dude, get a fucking life. Okay, hit the pause button on the text, all right? We're all friends, but I don't need your ass texting me at 6:30 in the morning on Sunday because you've had some revelation about the show.
You should be texting me and calling me.
No,
I'm telling you right now.
I want to leave you alone so you have a life. So everyone's not like, why is your boss texting you all day Saturday?
We work our job. That's the thing about podcasting or anything in the media. You're never off, really. Now I get off the wagon, and then I come in staggling along, like hanging on by a thread Monday mornings. You're like, what did you do over the weekend?
Have like a life and space. By the way, Gabriel's on our live stream. He says you guys realize all of your live streams are stereo, but only the right channel has sound. Does anyone understand? Like basically, so we're coming through as mono. Is that what you're saying?
Got it.
Did you ever notice this on our live stream?
No, but I'm glad that he told us. We'll have to fix that.
Well, Gabriel, it sounds like we've been doing this mistake for a long time, so that goes to show you what engineers we are. Okay, like, he's like, do you guys know that you live stream weekly and you're like not even you're in stereo,
In stereo the whole time.
But who knows? Maybe it's his computer because I've never gotten that complaint from anybody else.
That is interesting. Okay.
All right. Before we get Jim on, we do have to do a couple of stories. All right. I want to reveal to you, I told you a while ago, remember we had the big fight with Dan about wedding gift cards. I bought a bathing suit. I want you guys to get on right now and vote. I'm going to reveal the bathing suit. Tell me if this was worth the $70 and the near, cancellation of the Fraben wedding.
Yes.
So I want to know that. O.J. Simpson has joined Twitter. Or is anyone on the show going to be following him? Don't answer that yet. Okay, I want to know. He's been tweeting. And in fact, did everyone see this? His tweet he put up on Father's Day was about Khloe Kardashian and Kris Jenner.
Oh.
Have you guys seen it?
Yeah. I saw his. I don't follow him, but I'm petrified of this Twitter feed.
And does everyone believe that Prosecco, Romper, Pong is real?
Prosecco. I feel like that's just what 3 nouns put together.
How did we not think about this? How did we not come up with this idea?
Prosecco, Romper, Pong.
Prosecco, Romper, Pong.
Can you play Pong? Do you know how to play Pong?
Yes, of course. Please, I can do bong rips, whatever you want to do. I mean, I am here to party. Let me tell you.
She talks such a big game, you guys. Such a big game. She's queen of big games. Because I haven't seen a damn time when you played Pong.
All kinds of people have jumped on. Susie says, yes, I second that. So people are hearing for whatever reason the show. Oh my God, this is like going to be the greatest show of all time. Great. And it's coming out of one stream. Fabulous. Gabriel, I thought it was just me. Corey, mine too. Okay. Only the right headphone is working. LOL.
Oh great,
God, for
guys.
God's sakes. Lisa, yep. Only my right headphone. Oh, for God's sakes. If we come in here and we have one show where everything goddamn works, it'll be amazing.
Oh, I know. And you know what? Well, I feel like an old lady. I don't know how to work this iPad. But there is a setting on here that I know can fix this problem.
Hey, Maddie, can you run and get, who could we get? Rofo? Is Rofo here? No, he's gone.
Pony.
Can you grab Pony downstairs? Yeah, he's a tall guy, sort of looks like, he doesn't really look at all like a pony, actually. He's very tall. They call him Pone Bone. You can just go, just... Maddie's like, no.
Just go down and say, is Pony here?
Is there a pony here? Also known as Pone
And then
Bone.
before he comes in, just tell him we have a problem with we need to do it dual mono, not stereo. Thank you so much.
Our listeners are saying it's been happening for a while. So it takes Gabriel, who just logged on 5 minutes ago, to reveal this. You guys, you got to tell us this stuff. Gabriel, who just randomly came across our channel, is blowing us up. And
wait, has this happened every time, or is it just today?
Listeners are saying that this is like always the way it is.
Okay,
and here's this random man, Gabriel, who pops in and goes, "Hey, by the way, chicks, this is happening."
Well, I'm very thankful that they came forward and told us that. You know, I can only do so much over here.
All right. Look, while AJ is figuring that out, I want to thank a couple of our sponsors. So, as I mentioned, Amp by Strathmore. Now, there's probably about 25 general admission tickets still available, but there's only 6 VIP. VIP are $40. You get priority seating. You get a swag bag. ampbystrathmore.com/live shows. You'll see Hey Frase and AJ, our picture right there. Now, Thursday night show is brought to you by Progression Salon. We love them in Rockville. If you make an appointment between now and Thursday, AJ and I are going to go have our hair and makeup done for the live show there. They'll give you a free VIP ticket when you say that you're with the Hey Frase show. So log on and get your tickets now. We also hope to have a big announcement tonight about someone who we love dearly joining us on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Any hints? Sweetie, I don't have time to be rattling around a bunch of butts.
But can I cook? Yes. And we didn't want to have to go here.
Well, first of all, we can't afford Paul ever. Like, he makes us negotiate with this guy. Who's his attorney? Mikhail,
yes. His English accent.
Okay, this is supposed to be a friend of ours, right? All right. So this guy makes us negotiate with this lawyer. He got a Sirius XM show, and instead of asking 2 radio vets, he gets some dude that he's known, like, in his neighborhood that no one even knows. And this guy wears, like, thick bottle glasses. And that's his co-host. I'm like, you could have called us.
We're a little salty.
We're a little salty. Okay. So we'll see his ass on stage. So we'll make that announcement. But ampbystrathmore.com, get your tickets. Also, Advantage Financial Federal Credit Union. They have amazing loan rates. How about a pool this summer, a motorcycle, a boat? Loan rates as low as 3.84%, sometimes even lower. You can get up to $30,000 when you apply, advfcu.org. You can also go to the Hey FRASE podcast page on Advantage Financial. Sign up for an account there. You get $50 cash back for you. The reason they can do that is a credit union does not pay their board. So unlike your regular banks that have massive overhead, pay huge CEO numbers and boards, they don't. All that money goes back to you. So sign up today. You guys have come through. We've had so many people sign up for accounts or get loans through Advantage Financial. Come on in, you guys. You can fix the live stream while I'm reading this. So go to advfcu.org. I also have to thank OpenFit. OpenFit is bringing you something new that makes it even easier to never miss a sweat session. Lose the commute to the gym and let the workouts come to you. OpenFit takes out all the complexity if you're trying to get in shape. It's a brand new, super simple streaming service that allows you to work out from the comfort of your living room in as little as 10 minutes a day. Amazing trainers and classes. OpenFit classes are led by some of the most effective and engaging trainers in the world. You can sculpt your body with Andrea Rogers, founder of the worldwide sensation Extend Bar. Or you can get into crazy shape with Hunter McIntyre, named by Sports Illustrated as one of the top 50 fittest athletes. These trainers know how to get the results that you want in a healthy way. So you can sign up today. If you're just looking to get in shape, feel better about your body, you can do that. AJ and I have done it. And the thing that I love about OpenFit is they'll actually have 10-minute workouts, which is about my attention span. My attention span is that of like a gnat, or like a fly. Like basically I'm like a fruit fly. Like I'm on to the next fruit every second. So you can work out for as little or as long as you want, and then you feel like you're getting healthier and stronger. OpenFit has changed the way that AJ and I work out. You can use our code, which is the best way to support this show. It's code FRASE. You can join us on a fitness journey personalized just for you. Again, use our code FRASE and start using OpenFit for your journey to a healthier life. Right now, during the OpenFit 30-Day Challenge, our listeners get a special extended 30-day trial membership to OpenFit, where you can get in shape, feel great in just 30 days. And when you text FRASE to 303030, you'll get full access to OpenFit, all the workouts, and nutritional information totally free. Again, just text FRASE to 303030. Love them. You were at Target, AJ, over the weekend. This was a big story. You were at Target in New Jersey when their massive shutdown happened, all computers out.
Oh, my God. This was the end of the world, Sarah.
Was it?
No, seriously. I've never seen people panic like this before. So why was I at Target? Because for Schmiggy's cousin's child's first birthday, we go up and, of course, we're last minute people. So I told him to get a gift beforehand. No. We save it for the last minute. On the way up there, we're already an hour late. You know my late issues. We're already an hour late. And
yeah, I do. Every morning I stand outside. Actually, today I was standing outside waiting for you. She's like, I'm here. I'm like, okay, where are you? Because I'm standing outside. Oh, I'll be right there.
You gave me 1 minute, though. You go, I was outside, and you weren't there, so I'm back inside. I was turning the corner, because it takes forever to go. You need a key to get into Sarah's building. So I tell her, 2 minutes before I get there. You just happen to be by the door.
I was waiting for your ass. I was looking out the door. 10 minutes late, 20 minutes late. I was like,
okay, I was there at 20 minutes, and I had an interview this morning at my first job. It was in radio. They asked me to, anyways. Yeah, there's no point in me trying to save myself at this point.
I just like to give you a heart. It's fine.
No, I'm always late. I need to. I say this every time. It was my New Year's resolution. My ass is still late. Okay, I'm going to be late to my own funeral and wedding and birth of my child. So we go to New Jersey. We're in a car and we stop at this one Target that's on the route. We walk in. There is an announcement, and Schmiggy stays in with the dog. There's an announcement. I don't really listen, because, what announcement could they possibly say?
We're missing
spill
child in aisle 12. I mean, who cares,
There's been a wine cooler spill. So I'm not really listening. I get to the line and notice the lines are, out the door. I'm like, is everybody at this Target today? What's the deal? Of course. It takes me an hour, literally, to get from, I was 3 people in line before me. It took me an hour to get checked out. Apparently, the scanners all went down. I went onto the Twitter feed. There were babies screaming. There were people running around the store like crazy.
Really? People were that distraught.
People were that distraught. The Starbucks started serving refreshers and croissants. They're like, free samples. I know you guys been waiting. I mean, I was like, okay, are we going to die in here? What? They should have shut it down. But I've never seen people more in distraught. The only thing worse would probably be the same thing, but to happen at Walmart. The crowd of people there, that would have just been
You guys ever still go to the peopleofwalmart.com, that website?
When I'm extremely bored, yes.
Yeah, me too. I love it. Like that, and I watch old Tracy Morgan interviews, and it just makes me feel so good. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing all right.
Oh, God. Tracy Morgan is just OG.
OG.
He's a gold mine.
Did you ever watch that interview of him in Texas where he pretended that he was a war vet and he sat on one of his legs and pretended that it got blown off? It's the best interview of all time. He pretended he was in a wheelchair.
No, I gotta watch this.
He was completely wasted. It was so good. And the news anchor was completely like, I guess I'm getting fired on Monday. I don't know what to say to you. And he like went into a full... when I'm feeling down, I still watch it. And it's the best.
Or watch Teen Mom. Like Teen Mom OG. Does that ever make you feel a little bit better?
No, I feel horrible for the children. Well, I'm like, these kids need to be in foster care ASAP. How the fuck is this a show?
It's been on air for 10 years now.
I know. And they have millions of followers too.
Meanwhile, I can't get a damn view. Oh, God. So, yeah, the Target, apparently it was across the country. Across the country.
Well, I did. I saw that nationwide, and then I saw your Insta story, and I was like, oh, you were there.
I was there. It was like the end of the world. I would have never... there were people waiting in line. All they were buying was like a Father's Day card. I was like, go to the local Hallmark store. What are you doing in here?
I would be out.
Now, I had to get these presents for the baby because we couldn't show up empty-handed. It was a first birthday party.
How was the kid? Does it make you want to have a kid anytime soon?
Well, it was cute to see Schmiggy holding a baby, but, I was just over there drinking wine. So, I held the baby a couple times. He was adorable. He's a beautiful baby. Like,
now,
seriously.
Did Schmiggy hold the bababy like before or after he got blackout? Because I just saw him on your Instagram at one point, and it looked like it was 2:00 in the afternoon. And he was literally just like face down. Like,
yeah, I don't know what his deal was.
The neck was all over the place. It was like
he gets really bad hangovers. So that Saturday night after the birthday, the father and Schmiggy and I just stayed up to 4:30 a.m. just drinking Coors Lights, just like talking. Yeah, it was a crazy
You and the
night.
dad.
Us and the dad.
Well, that you really
He's
can.
a fun dad.
Like, I do talk a lot of crap, but you're like, you can go all night.
So yeah, and then the next day we were just tired. We were just having mimosas all day by the pool. And
what do you usually get? A 12-pack just for yourself, and then you'll get like a 30 rack for everyone else?
I used to be a Bud Light Platinum girl because that would just get you hammered. You're three platinums in.
Oh God.
4 Locos, and then you realize how bad they are. It's like
4
gasoline.
Locos? You would mix 4 Locos with beer?
Oh, I would drink whatever was available. I would show up to the party already 1 4 Loco in, and then obviously whatever was there I would drink. Unless it was like peppermint schnapps. I'm not a big peppermint schnapps.
How have you never stripped naked and just run through the streets? I cannot believe you haven't been on someone's doorstep naked try to break in. That is amazing.
I'm a crazy drunk, but I'm not like a psycho. It takes me a while to black out too. So by the time I black out, what have I done? Not too much. I mean, I went to the hospital, so that's something.
One time. Big deal.
It happened one time.
How did we not come up with this? Rompathon is happening at Pearl Street Warehouse in D.C. this Saturday, June 22nd, 12 to 3.
Are you going to be there?
No, I want to go, but we have our conference for the engaged to get married. Right. This is from 8:30 a.m. until 4. I'm not doing Fox. We are there the entire day talking about natural family planning, Jesus, and other couples.
Don't you guys already watch those films? You have the little DVDs you guys are watching every morning.
We watch those every day.
It's like 6 a.m. You guys are already tuning in to our Catholic classes. I'm like, why are you guys up at 6?
We get up with Father Paul, and he tells us about our love life, and then it seems very awkward. We're like, this seems like so many questions.
Well, it's similar to me. My grandmother watches a Catholic channel all night long, so I just wake up to the rosary, like, 6 a.m.
I actually thought of you. I went to Mass yesterday, and
you went to Mass yesterday.
Yeah, I'm trying to go, and then I'm trying to go for 2 reasons. One, they keep threatening to not give us permission to get married in the Catholic Church if they don't see our faces. So I always go, I'm like, hi, Father, I'm here, over here. Yes, attendance, doing great.
Write me down. Sarah was here.
Like, where's the check-in sign? Yes, like, where's the attendance? Like,
Sarah, only God knows you were there, okay?
So I went yesterday, and then they wanted, they asked for prayers, for different people. And it was really hard for me to control it, but they were asking for prayers for men to join, the church.
The priesthood.
And I really wanted to get up and go, but this is so easy. Like, if we just allowed women to do it, we'd have
a lot
influx. More. But they were really begging for prayers. I was like, I've got to skip that one because this one's an easy solution.
You were trying to do a suggestion box. Like, actually, I have one. I think we should honestly.
Absolutely. I was like, see, I like praying for things like people that can't help themselves, but this one, I've got a solution. I know
I can help out here, guys.
We can put this off the prayer list because I know the answer.
They hate me. Yeah. Well, I think they know you were there, though. You should.
And they threaten me all the time to listen to this podcast, like in a nice way. But the father is always like, oh, I've got to tune into your podcast. I'm like, There's no need. And then he's always like, "Now, what's the name of it again?" And I go,
Give him another one. Give him like Aunt Angelica.
As I go, it's Hey Frey. And he goes, Hey Frey. Okay, Hey Frey. Yeah, FRAY.
And that's all. We can be found on
He's like,
Facebook.
We can be found on radio.com. Just search Hey Frey.
Podcast.com.
All right, look, Prosecco, and look, you grab your friends, you throw in a romper, you play Prosecco Pong.
Is this for charity? Like, why are we doing this?
No.
Okay.
You have to pay them. They are brilliant. Pearl Street Warehouse. Actually, admission is free. It doesn't seem like you get anything either.
Is this Billy McFarland? Is this Billy McFarland behind this? He's like, hey, new party. Rompers, Prosecco, pay money. And then we need a special wristband for nothing.
Yep, you're right.
Okay.
This seems like they want to collect your email address. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, great. So we're on a list. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what you get me into?
Well, are you going to go? It looks like a lot of fun.
There's alcohol there. Sure.
And you'd be good at that, too. Get your best romper on, the Prosecco Pong.
I love a good romper.
How are we sounding, by the way, on YouTube? Is everyone... Teen Mom is so entertaining, Ji-Woo says. J-Woo.
It is entertaining. Janelle?
People are guessing that Paul will be there on Thursday night.
Good guess.
Gabriel says, I'll Venmo you. Are you going to send us money? That'd be excellent. We definitely want your cash. All right, one more story. We're going to hit O.J. Simpson, Taylor Swift. Is she anti-gay? We'll talk about that. But how do you guys feel about this performance artist named Snatch Adams, who will let you take a bong hit out of her butt, and she is doing like a tour all across the United States?
Sarah,
do people feel like this woman, what is that? This is real.
I thought that you were joking when you brought this up. I was like, I will not discuss this.
No, she's a real performance artist, and she's booking venues all across the United States.
I don't understand this. This is the same thing as taking a bong rip. We're just doing it between someone's butt cheeks. Is that what's happening?
This is what people call art.
What?
She considers herself a performance artist.
Is she okay? Oh, she's hanging from strings.
Right. Exactly.
So she's like an aerial artist.
You can drink alcohol, anything. Eat sushi off of her body. And people are hiring her. And see, this is again, what are we doing wrong? Irene has Dead Dad's Kitchen. This woman just gets naked, ties herself up, and people pay to see this. We're doing it all wrong.
Yeah, but like, think about when she has a child and they're like, "Mommy, is that you?" Like, no, this is not okay. I mean, no, I'm not judging her, because this is her life, and that's awesome that she found her performance artist that she can showcase. But if you're getting paid to do this, well, more power to you. But
paid to do that.
Is this in Amsterdam, or is this like going all across country? Okay, so the people of Minneapolis, when she tours, they're going to be like, yes, happy to see her. Snatch Adams.
She's getting booked. She's getting booked.
Oh, is she a porn star?
No, because she's actually not naked, even though it looks that way.
Sarah, she is. I can see her titties with emojis covering it. She's naked.
Oh, actually, I thought those were tassels. All right.
Tassels. Are you telling me something? Like, is this what I have to expect?
No, I'm always like, God, because we talk about getting a niche on this show, and I'm always,
right.
I look at other people's niches, and I think, should that be ours? Could we compete?
The fact that somebody can make a niche from bong rips out of an ass, I can't.
I always like to present to you the news that you can use.
Thank you, Sarah.
So, 4 things that are popping. We like to do everything that's popping in celebrity news. We're going to do it a little early so then we can have our guest on. So O.J. Simpson joined Twitter over the weekend. Is anyone on this show planning to follow O.J.? He says that he wants to get even on some things and settle the score.
Yeah, this is so creepy, though, isn't it?
Like, I don't know that I would lead with that.
Yeah, and there's tons of fake OJ accounts. What's the real one? It's called the
O.J. Simpson
23,
32, I think.
It already amassed, of course, so many followers.
Over 500,000 followers in just 2 days. Simpson put up on Father's Day a reminder that he never had relations, never slept with Kris Jenner, and is not Khloe Kardashian's father. Did we need that clarification from him?
I did. I still think he is the father.
You do?
Yeah.
Even though he denies it and she denies it?
Not him. I think the other guy that had relations that looks just like Khloe is the actual father. I don't think OJ's the father.
Who's that? There's been multiple people that people think are Khloe Kardashian's dad?
Yes. They do like a facial recognition thing right next to each other, and they look identical.
At the real OJ32
there we go.
Is the legit account. It has not been verified yet, but he put up a 22-second video that had over 2 million views in 8 hours.
This one, at the real OJ32, is the only official one. So this should be a lot of fun. I got a little getting even to do. So God bless. Take care.
Don't know if I'd lead with that. I'm just
okay, bye.
We're
That's
spitballing,
super scary.
we're spitballing here, but that doesn't seem like.
I don't know. Do you think? What is your take on OJ? Do we ever talk about this?
I mean, I think OJ is guilty. He wrote a book basically saying, if I did it, which detailed how he did it, and then said that he didn't do it. Like, yeah, I think he did. I think that OJ, the best, they did like an OJ Simpson documentary on him too. And I think the best moment of that is when they were basically trying to say to OJ, like, you're being racially targeted. And he goes, oh, I'm not black. I'm OJ. And then I think that just like said everything. He's a complete narcissist, which is why he's on there telling people that he wants to even the score.
I got to get something, got to make even. And please follow me.
He and Bill Cosby tweeted last night on Father's Day. Who knew he had a Twitter account?
Who knew?
Jim Edmonds. Do you guys watch Real Housewives of Orange County? TMZ caught up with Jim Edmonds, who is the wife of, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? Hold on. I completely forgot her name. I'm so fascinated by this story because she actually blogged about it and said that it was all true.
Meghan King Edmonds.
Yes, thank you. Meghan King Edmonds, Real Housewife of Orange County. They have 3 children together. He confessed over the weekend that he cheated on her. He was sending nude photos. This guy is like 60 years old.
But attractive. He's a great silver fox.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think he's all that hot.
What? That's because you like naked mole rats.
I do.
Man is very attractive, but I'm just saying. This guy's attractive. You don't think?
This is his 3rd marriage, and then he was sending some other woman explicit photos. She, by the way, Meghan put up a blog post saying it's all true. She doesn't know what to do. Couldn't have come at a worse time. One of their kids may have health issues.
Well, actually, it came out that he was sending the nudes while she was about to give birth.
Yes.
Which is like the worst.
But people always do that, though. They cheat at like the worst.
Like the worst time.
Yeah, the best family moments. Always like Christmas Eve. And they've said, like, it is, right? They never do it on April 2nd. You're like, what's going on April 2nd? How about you cheat on that day? There's no significance. Christmas Eve, they're always like out. Like sending like
doing the damn
their
thing.
entire body wrapped in a Christmas tree. You're like, you couldn't have waited till January 3rd? Like, would that have killed you? The day she was giving birth.
But she took him back, right? And you know what? He said
they're still together. They're trying to work it out. He told that TMZ that it was just a lapse in judgment.
Yeah, truly. Right when she's about to give birth, right?
Hey, yeah.
No physical relation, though, just texts. So this is a whole other type of cheating.
Oh, so that one doesn't matter for you?
No, it does. But it's crossing a very narrow... You're walking a thin line. You're walking on thin ice. The ice is so thin. I don't know. I mean... a lot of them just say that that's her sugar daddy.
Like, yeah.
He's a lot older.
And he never seemed that into her on the show, I have to say.
Well, they don't show him too much. It's usually just her discussing her.
Yeah. And they're off the show.
Housewives, yeah.
Last story, too. Taylor Swift has reconciled with Katy Perry. Her new song, they shot a music video for it, and every celebrity is in it, from Ellen DeGeneres to Adam Rippon, RuPaul, Billy Porter, and Katy Perry makes a guest appearance as well as the Fab Five, who we all love, of course, from Queer Eye.
Of course.
And it's Taylor Swift's new video, You Need to Calm Down. So it looks like she and Katy have actually come back together. A lot of people, by the way, feel like she is just using LGBTQ to basically capitalize on it, because it has a very pro gay rights message.
Oh, of course.
That people feel like she's just capitalizing.
She never really was talking about it before. Like, she never talked about those issues. And I think, I'm not going to say she is, but she's never been a huge supporter of the LGBT community before.
Right,
this.
until now. Do you think she would use that? I don't know. You do. Oh, Maddie, our intern's like, absolutely. You're not a fan? Maddie thinks she's fake. I've never been a Taylor Swift fan either. I'm with you. I don't know. There's something there for me that's like, I agree with you. There's something like not real. Like, that's what I love about Rihanna. You know what I mean?
Well, she doesn't give a flying F.
No. Talk about tits out and just giving you the finger. She's like, what do you want? Like, that's real. Like, that's how we all really feel when we see people.
She landed herself a billionaire, so.
Yeah, I know. And she's like already worth $1 billion. Or she's already like worth $1 billion on her own.
Yeah.
All right, look, I'm excited to get Jim Tatum in here. What a lead in. I'm sure he's very thrilled. So like Jim is really
that's why the show is so great, because we talk. Match Adams to
Jim,
Taylor Swift.
Jim, come on in the studio. Come on in. So Jim Trainum, retired DC homicide detective, amazing author, How the Police Generate False Confessions, is here today to talk about the When They See Us, the Central Park Five, who now want to be going by Exonerated Five. Jim, hopefully you watch all kinds of different entertainment. I feel like you're a cop. You're used to it all, right? I mean, I think you've heard a lot worse.
I've heard worse.
This is probably the most unique show you've ever been on.
I'm just glad I didn't have my mom listen to the first part.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Tune in in a second. Yes, absolutely. How's your... Wait, hold on. We got to fix Jim's headphone.
Yeah, it has many moving parts.
Okay.
Thank you.
We've thrown you off with this women's show. Well, thank you for being here. I'm a huge fan. I got to interview you with Mansion Murder podcast, but I wanted you to come on to talk Central Park 5 and this new series, When They See Us, all about true crime. And of course, your book, because you really detail how police, and we'll get into like if police still use these tactics, right. But you really talk about how police do generate, in many instances, false confessions.
Right. And I tried to write a book that was for the general public, not a textbook, but just kind of give them an idea that, or to show them that this could happen to anybody, not just somebody who's young, has a disability, that sort of thing. But we are extremely skillful in setting up a situation in an interrogation room where we create this impression, this temporary impression, that your best and only option is to tell us what we think is the truth.
Okay, and that, of course, is exactly what happened in the Central Park case in 1989. So they bring in these 5 kids that were in Central Park on a night. Some of them, one of them wasn't even in the park. But they essentially bring them in and, without an attorney, without parents, and they start talking to them. They say that they just want to talk to them and help them out to find out what happened and if they were involved in the beating and rape of this Central Park jogger, which they go along with.
Sure, and that's the way we pretty much start in a lot of cases. Even if you are under arrest and we're required to read you Miranda, we are very well versed in how to word it and work around it so that you're much more likely to waive your Miranda rights than not, especially with juveniles. I mean, can you imagine, if you look at your typical Miranda warnings, could you imagine a 14, 15, 16-year-old understanding or feeling like they're in a position where they can say no to that sort of thing?
Absolutely not, no.
Especially when I'm going to sit there and I'm going to read them really fast, or I'm going to say, hey, this is just a formality. All we want is your side of the story. But, I'd love to hear your side of the story, but I can't until we get this paperwork out of the way. So let me just do this real quick, and you just sign right here, and we can go on and find out what really happened here.
So I was asking you this before the show. In 1989, because you were a DC homicide detective from 1990 until
1993 until 2010.
Until 2010. So this case initially started in 1989, and then the 5 young men were sentenced in 1990 and exonerated later. But I'd asked you, at that time, was this case even on your radar as a DC cop?
Well, as a DC, let's see, I came on in 1993. And so when I heard about this, I just heard the media accounts. That's all I knew. And so I just took them at face value. And so the wilding and all that other kind of stuff, when they were convicted, especially since they had confessed, I wasn't surprised. But back then, the attitude was nobody confesses to crimes that they didn't commit. And a lot of people still have that attitude today. And so when you heard that they confessed with all this other stuff, you just knew that they were going to be convicted. You just knew that they were really bad kids. It wasn't until years later, of course, I got my own false confession in my own homicide case. And I wanted to understand what I did that made the suspect think it was a good idea to confess to a crime they didn't commit. And 2, how do they know all this information that only, as we love to say, only the true killer would know?
Okay, so tell us about that. What was that incident that happened to you in real life as a cop?
Well, it was just a very high-profile case, and we didn't have a lot of leads on it right there. We did have a composite picture that we put out in the media, and so we started getting tips about different people. And it became what we call a tip-driven investigation. Rather than following the evidence, you get the tip and you try to work backwards, which is a very dangerous way to work because you're trying to make people fit the evidence rather than the other way around. So we had a suspect that looked like a good suspect. We brought them in on what we thought was really good forensic evidence. We had a forensic expert saying that they had signed their name to the victim's credit card slips. So after many hours, we even had this thing called a voice stress test, which is like a polygraph. And they failed that and all of that. And so they began to tell us details about the crime. Well, it wasn't until much later when we're doing the follow-up investigation, which is what should have happened with the Central Park Five, they start following up and they start saying, wait a minute, this doesn't fit. You know, something's not right here.
And when did they do a follow-up investigation? That's after the person has been convicted or?
No, this was after they confessed. So we were still investigating. And what happened was we found an alibi, which was unshakable. And then we went back and we looked at the original foundation of the case, that forensic evidence, and found out that the forensic evidence wasn't as strong as we thought. In fact, it was non-existent. We had a bad examiner. I mean, we had a handwriting examiner who was also a fingerprint examiner, a firearms examiner, all this other kind of stuff. It was crazy. And so, but like I said, I wanted to find out what did I do to convince this person that it was a good idea to confess. And then how did she get all these details? And what I found out is I went back and started looking at all of this research about false confessions. And there's actually 3 steps that we take when we get a false confession. The first is we identify an innocent person as a suspect. And believe it or not, that happens all the time. It's part of police work. I mean, think about...
That is crazy.
Think about the Central Park 5 case. Think about other high-profile... Well, any case. You get information that's coming in quickly. It's piecemeal. A lot of it's incorrect. And so you're trying to make decisions based on that information. Now, it's supposed to be self-correcting. As you get new information coming in, you're supposed to go back, rethink your initial theory. You're supposed to mold the theory to fit the evidence. However, we, like everybody else, we fall victim to tunnel vision. So then we start to, the evidence that we like, we hold on to. The evidence that doesn't fit our theory, we ignore, which is what happened with the Central Park 5.
Right, which you see in When They See Us is as they're going along, there is no DNA evidence, which is brought up to Linda Fairstein, who's one of the prosecutors in this case, and we'll talk a little bit about your opinion and thought on that. But you see all the way along that the kids, at least from the documentary, are coerced basically into telling these stories and sort of turning against each other. Some of the boys didn't even know each other,
Well, that's actually the third part. Right. Of the 3-step. The second part is using these interrogation techniques that will convince somebody that it's a good idea to go with the program. And then the third thing is we tell them what to say. We contaminate the confession, and we don't always do it in a very obvious way. A lot of times it's very subtle because remember, in most, if not all of these cases, I only know one case involving a false confession that I've worked on where the cop actually went in there to get a false confession. But he was a criminal who was trying to cover up his own.
Okay, he was somehow
activity.
Involved in this. Okay, gotcha. Wow.
These detectives believed that these kids were involved.
And you believe that. So you believe
Yes.
in the Central Park case that those detectives truly believed, and Linda Fairstein and the prosecutors
They
believed.
truly believed.
Wow.
Yes.
And to this day, they've never apologized. There's never.
They really haven't backed down.
Right.
Part of it is that they may admit that, I think, let's say Ms. Fairstein has admitted that they should have been released, they should have been exonerated. However, she says that nothing was done wrong. And that's part of the problem here is that, a lot of what's done wrong, by a lot of people. I mean, we vilify her, we vilify the detectives. But the system was in place at that time that put a lot of pressure on these guys to solve these cases. they were taught certain techniques. They weren't supervised properly. And so there's enough blame to go around. But because nobody wants to say what was wrong, we don't want to look at the big picture. We keep doing this over and over and over, and nobody learns from this.
Do you think that's true even today?
Even today.
Really?
Even today. We still use the same interrogation approach. We still have very, very poor training in how to think like detectives, how to use critical thinking, how to evaluate evidence. There was a study recently done by Texas State University where they looked at like over 50-some what they call investigative failures, things like wrongful convictions and things like that. And these range from, decades ago up to relatively recent cases. And you keep seeing the same mistakes being made over. Tunnel vision's a big one. How we evaluate and interpret evidence is another one.
Okay.
Now, what they're trying to do is come up with a process. The National Institute of Justice is trying to promote for law enforcement to adopt the same practices that they do in medicine and the aviation field. So if there's like an airplane crash, you don't blame the pilot. You want to look at everything around the pilot that caused them to make that decision.
You've got the black box. You've got all that they come and recreate and reenact.
So to be able to go in and dissect this case, I promise you, I mean, I've seen other cases. I know of other cases that are the mirror image of the Central Park Five.
Well, tell me about those, because I thought this was fascinating when we were talking. You gave two examples of cases in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia region that you say almost kind of mirror what happened with Central Park. Tell me about those.
Well, it's funny because I had read a lot about the Central Park case after my own false confession, and I followed it along. And I was setting up a program with D.C. where we were reviewing all these old homicide cases, putting them in a database. And I pulled a case file on a 1984 case that's known as 8th and H crew case.
Okay.
And this was a case involving a woman who left home, was going to the store, and her body was found in an alleyway in D.C., northeast D.C., in a garage at the corner of 8th and H Street Northeast. And she had been beaten and sodomized with some sort of object and left for dead, and she died a short time later. There was an initial suspect, a person of interest, this guy named James McMillan. And he lived off the alley where the body was found. He was seen in the immediate area. In fact, he was seen running from the scene trying to hide something under his coat. James McMillan had been robbing and beating women in that very neighborhood right there. So he should have been considered a prime suspect. However, they got sidetracked because of a tip about gang activity, the 8th and 8th Street gang, which actually never existed. It was just a bunch of kids who called themselves that. And so the police came in, just like with the Central Parks Five. They started snatching up everybody they could. They actually arrested 17 people. 17 people.
In 1984, here in Washington, D.C.
And it got whittled down to like 7 or 8 who actually confessed to doing the murder. But the confessions, just like the Central Park Five, they didn't match each other. They didn't match the crime scene. And none of it made any sense. But it was a gang thing. It was just like the Wilding stuff. They were singing about getting paid before they went over there to rob her and all of that. So I'm sitting there reviewing this case, and I'm going, this is some bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, this is just like the Central Park Five. And so actually,
and you would have been reviewing this case in what year?
This was like in, 2011.
Wow.
No. I'm sorry, 2000. When did I start doing that? 2001, 2002.
Okay, but keep going, and then I'll ask you more.
But however, unlike the Central Park Five, these guys don't have DNA. These guys don't have somebody who's come forward and confessed. Right. And even though it turned out that the evidence about James McMillan was not turned over to the defense attorneys, so it was actually hidden from the defense attorneys by the prosecutor in violation of what they call the Brady Law. This went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that they would not get a new trial because they did not think the violation was strong enough. Just as a side note.
So these, Okay, keep going. This blows my mind.
1982, James McMillan gets out of jail for all the robberies. Within a short time after getting out of jail, within a few blocks of 8th and H, where he's still living, he snatches a woman at the mouth of an alley, drags her into the center of the alley, sodomizes her, and beats her to death, just like Catherine Fuller in the 8th and H Street crew. Identical crimes.
And how did they catch him for that? How did they know that that was him?
I was actually working burglaries, and he actually did a burglary where he walked into a woman's house and beat her. And as he ran out of the house, he left his halfway house ID behind, and we call that a clue. So I was able to, get an arrest warrant with him for that. And there were certain things that came up during my investigation that made me suspicious about him being a possible suspect in that murder case. I turned the information over to homicide, and it turned out that his fingerprints had been found on the scene.
And he was convicted in 1992 of that rape.
He was convicted,
and murder.
I think in 93 or so.
Okay.
And he was the first person in D.C. to be in prison for life without parole.
And he has, to this day, never confessed to the 1984.
Not to anybody in law enforcement.
Wow. But those young H Street gentlemen still remain in prison today.
One is out, but the rest are still in prison.
And have they maintained their innocence? I mean, that was what was fascinating to me with the Central Park Five. They were offered plea deals many times. Then their parole meetings would come up, and the parole officer, especially with Corey Wise, would sit there and go, okay, well, you admit that you did it, and then we'll see where you're at with parole. And they really seem to stick to, we did not do this. So, I mean, have those young men in that case, in the H Street case, stuck to their innocence? How is that?
Absolutely. I mean,
wow.
You could basically take the Central Park 5 case and just change the names around, and it would be almost the same.
But four of them remain in prison.
Let's see. I forget exactly how many. I think 6 remain in prison, yes.
Wow. Is that discouraging for you? I mean, you have such an amazing story because what I admire about you is you've gone against the grain in essentially kind of pulling back the curtain and saying, look, these were the things in law enforcement that weren't done right. And we need to really step back and evaluate ourselves. And, you seem like you have more empathy than most law enforcement people. For whatever reason, there seems to be this persona of we don't apologize.
It's hard to apologize. I mean, because you're taught from the academy that you're always right. I mean, you don't back down. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's just kind of the macho, image that we like to portray as cops. If you apologize, if you say that you were wrong, you open yourself up for liability, and two, it just hurts your own image. All detectives want to be Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is never wrong. Now, the reason that I do this, or I've talked about these things, I've written about these things, it's not because I'm anti-law enforcement, though I've been accused of that all the time.
Yeah.
Cops want to get it right. They want to do the right thing. They want to have good investigations. A lot of times, they just don't know how. They haven't been trained properly. They buy into a lot of the stuff that's out there on the market about these accusatory interrogation techniques. They buy into this garbage about how you can become a human lie detector by watching people's, eye movements and all that kind of. It's all pseudoscience, but it's marketed, it's sold, it's marketed as a way to quickly close cases without a lot of investigative work, and so we like that. But it's not the best way, and it's funny because these interrogation schools, a lot of them out there. What they do is they teach the basic accusatory approach, but they don't. They write about and they put on their websites the warning signs, the things that you don't want to do, and how you should. Even if you get a confession, you need to go out and corroborate it. You need to make sure that the evidence matches the confession. That sort of thing. But they never teach it in their interrogation schools. It's never brought up. And so it's like a cop going to be taught a medical procedure, and not a cop, but a doctor.
Sure.
Being taught a medical procedure, but they're never tested on it. They don't have to prove that they're proficient. They're not taught the side effects or how to recognize them and how to deal with them. And so that's why these things keep happening.
In the Central Park Five, in the When They See Us documentary, they do sort of make a big thing about, these kids were very young, like you said. They didn't want to go against the police. They didn't want to tell their parents at first. Do you think that people have become more savvy about asking for an attorney? Because you will always say, and I love this, if you ever suspect that police want to question you, you need to call an attorney immediately.
Yes. I mean, I fully understand where the officer's coming from. They're trying to solve a crime and all of that. However, you don't want to fall victim to their misplaced theories, their tunnel vision, and that sort of stuff. And you don't know, because if they think that you're guilty, they're going to look at you through a guilt presumptive lens. And so everything that they see is going to be interpreted in the most guilt presumptive manner. And you really need to protect yourself. If they really need to talk to you, if they're honest about what they're doing, they shouldn't have any problems with you spending the extra time going to get the attorney to sit in there and act as a buffer to make sure that you're treated fairly right there.
How many people do you feel like are still in prison or are getting wrongly convicted of crimes that they didn't commit?
Probably a lot more than we imagine, because the ones that we focus on, the cases that we look at, are the ones, the high profile, not so much the high profile ones, but usually the more serious crimes, because that's where people are either facing the death penalty or they're in prison for a long period of time. So, with them, there's more at stake. And so those are the ones that people tend to put the resources in. So the little, misdemeanor drug crimes, things along that line, they're just kind of pushed aside. Now, also think about the fact that most of our cases never go to trial. They're resolved through plea agreements. And, a plea agreement can be a false plea agreement. It's just like a false confession in that, one, you're confessing to something that you didn't do. But two, it has a lot of the same dynamics that occur during an interrogation. It's like a cost-benefit analysis, a business deal. You're being told, look, you're being held without bond on this silly little charge. You could be just another 6 months sitting in jail. Our case may be weak, but the thing about it is you could still get convicted. If you do, you might serve another 2 years. But if you take this plea deal, you're out tomorrow. What do you say?
Well, and what's so difficult is it seems as though lots of times, and especially the Central Park 5 case was one of those, where people, they decide not to take the plea deal. And like you said, it's almost like it works against them. Like it comes down even harder for them.
Oh, absolutely, especially in confession cases. And
okay. So if you've already confessed and then you don't take the plea deal, it's almost more difficult for you.
Right. In fact, once you confess, that's like the gold standard of evidence. And a lot of people still are not critical. They still have the attitude that, nobody would ever confess because you think that you wouldn't confess to a crime that you didn't commit.
Well, I used to think that, but I think now in so many cases have been highlighted, so much true crime with all the documentaries. I think you do see how. And look, I have no stamina. Like, I don't know. Like, so like when they keep you down there for 8 hours and then they keep coming in, like that would do it for me. It wouldn't be like it would be, they would wear me out. I'd be like, yes, whatever you want. I just need to leave. Like, I'm very antsy.
Well, one point I always make, because a lot of times, like I said, people ask me, why would someone ever confess to a crime that they didn't commit? And my answer is, well, why would you confess to a crime that you did commit, especially if you're facing life in prison or the death penalty?
Yeah.
What is in it for you? What do we do in that interrogation room that makes you think that's a good idea? Because it isn't. And so it's the very same principle, the cost-benefit analysis, and we're really, really good at manipulating that. We're allowed to lie about evidence. We're allowed to...
which you see in the Central Park case, right, where they basically, they said, well, this guy said this about you, which of course wasn't true, for the kids.
But I'm allowed to tell you that we have 3 witnesses who saw you do this. And, and basically what we're doing is we're maximizing what we have against you and how serious this is. We're either threatening you with real or implied consequences, and then we're offering you real or implied leniency, and we're throwing in that false evidence stuff right in the middle. And we're not just doing it once and twice. We're doing it over and over and over and over. And, one of the things that we're taught in the accusatory approach is you go in there, the first thing you do is you tell them, you did it, we know you did it, there's nothing you can say that will prove it, that will prove otherwise, all we want to know is why. Then as you try to deny, we block your denials, and then we're giving you reasons why. Now the reasons are supposed to be like a psychological or moral justification, but a lot of times we slip in things like it's an accident. We just want to, if you confess that it was an accident, we can help you, that sort of thing. At some point, they're going to give you the alternative question, which is, you either did, look, we've been doing this for 3 hours, you keep lying to me, there's no doubt you did it. Now you either did it because you're a really evil person, or you did it because it was, a spur of the moment thing. What is it? Evil person that you planned this out, spur of the moment. Evil person, spur of the moment. And, you just think that that's your only option right there. And like I said, people think that they won't fall victim to that. But when you think about, how a high-pressure salesman works, and we've all fallen victim to high-pressure salesmen.
Yeah.
We've all made bad decisions.
God, it's hard to equate police work with high-pressure sales.
That's what we are. We are the slickest salesmen. We are selling you a jail sentence,
Great. Wow.
But
you do not think of that together.
But remember, these are detectives who've been taught that this is what gets to the truth. But the thing is, when I walk in there and I tell you that there's no doubt that you did it, what I'm trying to do is get you to admit to the truth as I see it to be. I've already made up my mind what the truth is.
Wow.
And so that's how contamination comes in. I may ask you through a leading question, or I may show you a crime scene photo. So that's how it all works.
Before I ask you kind of your opinion too on, obviously there's been a lot of fallout for Linda Fairstein, who was the prosecutor in this. She's lost book deals and off boards, and so is the other female prosecutor in this case. And a lot of people feel like rightfully so. But tell me this, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you like to see police departments use for tactics, or what do you think that they should be if it was an ideal world?
Ideal world, basically, the UK had this same problem, back several years ago. They had some high-profile wrongful convictions based on false confessions. So they brought in people to study what their detectives were doing. And they said, holy crap. They were doing the same thing that we're doing.
You're in the U.S., okay.
So they basically say, we're not going to do that anymore. And they came up with a philosophy and an approach that's actually scientifically based, where they're not going in to get a confession, they're going in to get information. And they're trained on how to ask questions properly, how to introduce evidence. It's much more professional, where your typical interrogation school in this country is 2 to 3 days. There they take weeks. And their people are tested and evaluated, and their attitude is totally different. They're taught about confirmation bias. They're taught how to avoid it. They're taught how to think like detectives. They're much more professional. Plus, videotaping interrogations. Believe it or not, there's still many, many agencies that do not videotape interrogations in this country. Or they say they do, but they don't have to. It's suggested. And so, even though videotaping is not the cure-all.
Yeah.
All it does is it captures what really happens in that interrogation room. It still doesn't prevent these really, really bad interrogation practices from being used, as I see every time I'm consulted on a recent case.
How, you kind of alluded to this. How has, you've been retired for a couple of years now. You wrote the book, and the book is How the Police Generate False Confessions. You can buy it on Amazon. How has the police department taken your book and that you kind of are always speaking out on a different way of policing?
Depends on the department and depends on the forum. In private, I have been complimented. People have come forward and that they've said, "Look, we're really appreciative of what you're trying to do. There but for the grace of God go I. This is really good stuff." That sort of thing. There are others, especially detectives in cases where I've testified for the defense, that of course don't like me very much. But the point that I keep trying to make is I'm not out there. I'm not saying that law enforcement is bad. I'm saying law enforcement is human. We want to do the right thing. but we just need to be taught how to do the right thing.
In the Central Park case, Linda Fairstein, we've talked about, lost her job. A couple of the detectives are no longer, that worked the case, are no longer alive. Do you feel like it is that it is their fault, that they deserve the backlash that they're getting?
That's a tough one. Yes and no.
Okay.
I would really like, because I believe that New York, from my understanding, is now releasing a lot of the documents in the Central Park 5 case. And I'll be honest, back in the day, they thought that they had the right people. They thought that they were doing the right thing. The problem is that they got off track and confirmation bias took hold. What that doesn't excuse is when the DNA comes in and all this other evidence comes in, their inability to now, rethink the evidence and then admit that they made a mistake and then try to help others from making the same mistake. What I would like to see happen is for New York and all the people involved, the prosecutors, the cops, and everything else, to participate in, like I said, one of these Sentinel event reviews in order to share their side of the story. If they really feel that they did the right thing, then go in there and say that. But then let other people look at it, evaluate it, and see where it did go, all the different ways that it went wrong, and then use it as a training tool to help others to prevent it from happening in their case.
When they see us is obviously to a statement on race, and that, these young men were targeted because they were black. This woman was a white, affluent jogger in Central Park, which at the time was considered sacred ground. A lot of people feel like if this had been a woman of color in a back alley in Harlem, it never would have gotten the attention. What's your opinion? I mean, you've lived it. You've been a detective. You've arrested and obviously questioned many people. How much do you think race played in that case?
A lot, either consciously or subconsciously. And if you think it's going on, today, all I need to say is Chandra Levy.
Yeah.
A white, female intern goes missing in D.C., and we pull out the plugs in a way
and
that
still, right?
Still,
aren't they still sinking hundreds of thousands of dollars into that case?
But, in a missing person case that we never would have done for an African-American woman or any really other woman. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
Was that hard for you? You're so empathetic. Like, that must have been hard to be in a department and just see the obvious bias. Must have been hard for other, I would think, black cops to see that.
Well, I was working a lot with victims' families back then because I was doing these cold case reviews and all. And I was getting numerous phone calls from the families of African-American murder victims or missing persons going, how come the Levys get an audience every time they come to D.C. with the chief of police? I've been trying to talk to the chief for years, and the chief won't even return my phone calls. That bias is obvious. And, it really is part of the problem with how we relate to these communities there. Or when you have a chief who, when you have like a $25,000 reward for information about any homicide victim, but when a man gets gunned down in a certain neighborhood and the chief gets up there, like happened here in D.C. many years ago, not the current chief, but gets up there and says, we're going to double the reward because he was a real victim. Ouch.
Yeah, ouch. Yeah, ouch. Last question for you. I mean, I could talk to you all day. I find this just so fascinating. I think you're so brave. I love having people on this show that really sort of go against the grain because it's very, very difficult. And I'm sure in a community like the police department, there's a lot of pressure to toe the line,
That's a huge problem.
Is that incredible pressure.
Let's say physical courage part is the easy part because that's over in a matter of seconds. But to go against the norm, I'm not patting myself on the back because there's a lot of people out there who've been through worse than I have. But to go against the norm and feel the pressure from your coworkers, from your bosses,
from your police union, probably they're probably giving you a hard time. God. Lord, send me that check, honey. Don't be withholding my police union check.
I testified when I was working for MPD in front of the Maryland. I forgot what their House of Legislators was.
Sure.
But about why they should be videotaping, why videotaping should be mandatory. And this was back, like I said, I was still with MPD, and a union guy from a local Maryland county reached out to me. He said, you know, the FOP is talking about rescinding your membership because you went against them. And I'm going, feel free, and we're going to have a hell of a lawsuit, you know, for the freedom of speech there.
Wow.
But that's a type of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like, I mean, if you have like bills or debt or, you know, whatever, it's hard to know what someone's financial situation is. So when they get that pressure, you sometimes have to go along with it. I mean, you know, you don't always have the freedom to stand up and go, all right.
Absolutely.
Screw you, you know?
It's a cost-benefit analysis.
Okay, last question. What is a case right now? You know, you do a lot of work. You've done a lot of work with the Innocence Project. We'll talk about the organization you work with. But what is a case like the one that you gave an example of in 1984 of the woman and these men are still in prison for a crime they probably didn't commit? What's a story that you think needs attention of somebody that is probably in jail for a crime they didn't commit?
Oh, my God, there's so many.
Wow. That's like hard to hear. That's crazy.
There's,
I mean, I can't
there's
even.
one that I really would like to draw attention to. He's out of jail right now, but he was convicted of a murder. He was had intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Those break your heart. I mean, how do they target these? I mean, Corey, because that was kind of the thing with Corey Wise in the Central Park case, the one that sort of is in prison the longest. There was some question of he certainly had a hearing issue. Did he have a disability? It's like, how can you target someone? It just is human life, you know, like, why would you do that?
Well, unfortunately, he's also gay. I don't say unfortunately because that's his lifestyle, but I would love to put his case out there, but his family doesn't want it because they're embarrassed about that aspect of it. And so that really tears my heart because I know that there was probably, even though the lawyers can't do anything for him, I know that the media could. They could really champion his case. But there's another that really gets me. It's one up in Philadelphia that I worked on. Let's say Walter Ogrod, who confessed to the murder of a small child, a young girl who was found in a box. And the confession was, it's one of these ones where the detectives claim off videotape that they brought him into the interrogation room. And they just sat down and they said, Walter, tell us what happened. And during a 3-hour period where he's crying most of the time, he comes up with a confession and they're just patting him on the back saying, you know, that's okay, as they write it down. The confession is total crap. It doesn't match the crime scene at all, but which gets to me. I mean, it's funny because a lot of cops, one of the main objections that I've encountered each time I've talked about the need to videotape interrogations is they'll say, well, if we do that, then suspects won't want to confess to us. Well, that turns out to be true because back in the day, before they videotaped, according to the courtroom testimony and what cops have told me, all they had to do was walk in there and sit down and ask the person what happened, tell us your side of the story. In fact, that's supposedly what happened in the Central Park 5 case. And they start talking. Well, for some reason, once they started videotaping, that type of interrogation just dropped off the face of the earth. You never saw it anymore.
Wow.
They're lying.
Oh my God. I mean, it is just unbelievable. You know, it is hard. I don't want to sound naive, but it is just unbelievable the lengths that, you know, you're seeing these stories be brought to light that police departments and prosecutors will go. It's just criminal. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's also kind of natural. It's what they call noble cause corruption. You believe in your heart that this person did it. You believe in the confession. However, you know that if you testify a certain way or if you say this or whatever, that the person might get off. So what you do is you do the wrong thing for what you think is the right reason. You don't remember exactly how something went down. You don't document how an interrogation occurred. You know, things along that line. It's very, very common. It's one of those traps that you'll fall into unless you have a department that supports, you know, a high ethical standard, who doesn't, you know, grade you on how many arrests you make or things along that line, that they grade you on the quality of your investigative work.
Wow.
And also that doesn't tolerate ethics violations.
I mean, that police department must be hard to find. Where's that one?
There are departments out
Who's doing that?
There are departments out there that are trying to hire people based on their character rather than other types of experience, and that support that sort of high ethical standing. But there's so many agencies. I know. I think out in California they're talking about. I think that's the state, but they have all these departments or prosecutors who have list of officers who have violated their ethical obligations by lying on the stand, falsifying documents and all that. And they keep it a secret because if they turn that over to the defense can use it to cross-examine them. But, those people, some of those might be, I don't want to do it across the board.
Sure.
But, still, that stuff needs to be made public.
Wow. The book is called How the Police Generate False Confessions. You can get it on Amazon. You guys, please buy it. We love supporting Jim Trainum. Thank you so much for being here. You are so awesome. I could talk to you all day. I love this. I know you're like, oh, true crime. I'm over it. But it's so good. Thank you. And thanks for bringing some light into the Central Park 5 story and kind of, pulling back the curtain as a former homicide detective.
Well, thank you.
And can anybody is there a website or anywhere you want people to follow you aside from purchasing the book?
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not that advanced.
Okay, you're off social media. No problem. Awesome. You guys, we'll see you on Wednesday. Be sure to get your tickets for the live podcast show. It's Amp by Strathmore, Rockville, Thursday night. Doors open at 6:30. Showtime is 8 o'clock. We love them. All right, Age, we're out. We're out. Bye, everybody. Bye, you guys. Love the book.